Yes, with only 18% claiming they're liberal, how do the Democrats win so many elections? The answer is clear. It's what I have said for my entire adult life. It is all emotional. It was for me when I was a Democrat. It was never based on an intellectual perception of what the differences are between left and right. It was based on the emotional brainwash of my childhood, not in my home, just of being an American and going to school and going to graduate school and so on. And the assumption was a given. Democrats care for the underdog and Republicans care for the rich guy. That was it. That's it. That was the end of the issue. Here is the real truth. A, Democrats are richer than Republicans. B, Democrats use the underdog. They don't help the underdog. They use blacks. They use Hispanics. They use the worker. They don't help them at all. But there really is a silver lining to President Obama and the left-wing Democratic Party. It has clarified left-right differences better than at any time in my life, and it has created more conservatives in the United States than ever. In 1994, and remember, that's after we had that was when the Republicans had this terrific surge. So just remember, that was at a height of Republican victory. 40% of the country identified itself as conservative. In 2010, right now, 54%. 54. Now, how is it possible? This is my column of 2 weeks ago. How is it possible 18% of the country identifies themselves as liberal? How on God's earth do the Democrats get elected? How does the left get elected if 54% of the country says it's conservative and 18% says it's liberal? How does that happen? I mean it. I know the answer. Because they effectively demonize the right. That's why. Danger on the right. Danger. What do you think the cover of Time magazine this week is? The Time magazine cover is all of these right-wing militias threatening the country. So, of course, I didn't read the article because I would prefer to have read the phone book. It is more left-wing claptrap from Time. But it's a perfect example. Oh, what you really have to worry about, no. You don't have to worry about the fact that the government is being taken over by unelected, unanswerable to Congress czars. Now, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about the fact that there are 130 million people on this planet, at least, who agree with Osama bin Laden and would like every one of you listening to me to be dead. Or, if not dead, maimed. No. The worry is right-wing militias. So I just skimmed it at the airport, and which is unfortunately what Time has become skimmable. And I got to one page. There are 300 members of militias in Ohio. That's got me worried. I'll tell you, I was a nail biter. 300 in Ohio. That was in bold. That's the reason I saw it. 300. What is the population of Ohio? Let's somebody dig that up. I want to figure out the percentage that we have to really, really worry about. So everybody acknowledges, including all polls taken in the Muslim world, that at least 10% of the Muslim world agree with terrorism. Okay, that's 130 million people, but that's not on the front of Time. 300 members in Ohio. Woohoo! Woohoo! There are more than that. There are more than 300 people in Ohio who have been visited by extraterrestrials. Okay? Let alone who believe Elvis Presley is still living.
Not because I believe in bigger government. I don't.
Yeah. You can't play that line because I can't. It's hard for me. It's actually hard for me to continue. It's like somebody announcing with a straight face that the earth is flat. One area of likely administration action is climate change. Woohoo! Climate change. You see how the liberal media change. No more global warming. No more. You see, because they realize it's a little preposterous. So now any change that takes place. Let me tell you why if the staggering dishonesty of the term climate change. I want to make this clear to you. The entire basis of fear was that the Earth is warming. This was an inconvenient truth, right? The Earth is warming at such a pace and to such a degree that it will cause international, worldwide catastrophe. Countries being drowned by rising oceans due in part to melting ice at the two poles, and the places like, well, not places like, all places that are located at the shoreline of countries will be inundated, and there will be horrific drought. Therefore, people will go to war with one another. And all because man is emitting carbon dioxide, which traps in heat. But if it doesn't trap in heat and it's only climate change, then the entire thing is a lie, isn't it? If it's getting colder and it's getting wetter and it's getting a whole lot of other things, wait a minute. Then then we don't have to worry about global warming. But if we don't worry about global warming and just climate change, it has nothing to do with carbon dioxide trapping heat, which in itself we're not certain happens. Back in a moment, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show.
I think global warming, it probably means extreme weather of all kinds.
This is the election of a lifetime. The resounding defeat of the left will be one of the great moments in American history. It has to be decisive and resounding. This is not a left-wing country. This is an exceptional country. Left-wing is not exceptional. Left-wing is mediocre. And worse. I mean, that's why it's not enough to win. The win has to shake up the New York Times editorial page. It has to cause them to throw up. Yeah, okay, to put it in the vernacular. I want this imagery of the moral fools who write the editorials at the New York Times, the people who are still living in 1840 Germany and think in terms of Karl Marx. I want them to understand you are utterly rejected in your little tiny enclaves of San Francisco, Berkeley, New York, Boston. You do not represent our country. I'm not calling you un-American or unpatriotic. I'm sure you love the country, but your values aren't American. That has to be, the election has to be that decisive. What is American? I define it every day. I'll define it today. Are we ready to define American values? Trumpet fanfare, please. The American trinity of e pluribus unum, in God we trust, and liberty, and they are all assaulted. They are made war against by the left. Multiculturalism instead of e pluribus unum. A secular society instead of in God we trust society. And equality over liberty. That's it. Big government over liberty. Liberty is dependent upon small government.